Hi everybody, it's our 8th session of reading Clockwork and I'm hoping to get part 1 finished today. So there's quite a few pages for me to read, but I'm just going to go for it. Okay, carrying on from page 33. If you remember, we were looking at this little bit and it was talking about charms and things. I'm just going to start off by reading this bit here. And here it is. You don't win races by wishing, you win them by running faster than everyone else. And to do that, you have to train hard and strive your utmost. And sometimes even that isn't enough, because another runner just might be more talented than you are. Here's the truth. If you want something, you can have it. But only if you want everything that goes with it, including the hard work and the despair, and only if you're willing to risk failure. That's the problem with Carl. He was afraid of failing, so he never really tried. Impossible, said Carl, who was feeling more and more lightheaded. Oh, but it's easy. What would you like? Wealth? A beautiful bride? Wind up the future, my friend. Say what you want and it will be yours. Fame, power and riches. What would you like? You know very well what I want, cried Carl. I want a figure for the clock. Something to show for all the time I should have spent making it. Anything to avoid the shame I'll feel tomorrow. Nothing could be easier, said Dr. Calmenius. You spoke, and there is what you wished for. And he pointed to the little sledge he'd pulled behind him into the parlour. The runners stood in a puddle of melted snow, and the canvas cover was damp. What is it? Said Carl, who had suddenly become very afraid. Uncover it. Take off the canvas. Carl got unsteadily to his feet and slowly untied the rope holding the cover down. Then he pulled the canvas off. In the sledge was the most perfect piece of metal sculpture he had ever seen. It was the figure of a knight in armour, made of gleaming silvery metal, holding a sharp sword. Carl gasped at the detail and walked round, looking at it from all angles. Every piece of armour plating was riveted in such a way it would move smoothly over the one below, and as for the sword, he touched it and drew his hand back at once, looking at the blood running down his fingers. It's like a razor, he said. Only the best will do for Sir Ironsol, said Dr. Calmenius. Sir Ironsol? What a piece of work! Oh, if this were in the tower among the other figures, my name would be made forever, said Carl bitterly. And how does he move? What does he do? He does work by clockwork, I suppose. Or is there some kind of goblin in there, a spirit or a devil of some kind? With a smooth whir and a ticking of delicate machinery, the figure began to move. The knight raised his sword and turned his helmeted head to look for Carl, and then stepped off the sledge and moved towards him. No, what's he doing? Said Carl in alarm, backing away. Sir Ironsol kept going. Carl moved aside, but the figure turned too, and before Carl could dodge away, he was pinned in the corner with the little knight's sword moving closer and closer. What's he doing? That sword is sharp. Stop it, Doctor. Make it stop. Dr. Calmenius whistled 3 or 4 bars of a simple, haunting little tune, and Sir Ironsol fell still. The point of the sword was right at Carl's throat. The apprentice eased his way past the figure and sank into a chair, weak with fear. What? Who? How did it start? This is uncanny. Did you set it off? Oh, I didn't start him, said Dr. Calmenius. You did. I did? How? It was something you said. His mechanism is so delicate, so perfectly balanced, that one word and one word alone will start him moving. And he's such a clever little fellow. Once he's heard that word, he won't rest until his sword is in the throat that uttered it. What word? Said Carl fearfully. What did I say? Clockwork, goblin, move, work, spirit, devil? Once again, Sir Ironsol began to move. He turned round implacably, found Carl and set off towards him. The apprentice was out of his chair in a flash and cowering in the corner. That was it, he cried. Stop it again, please, Doctor. Dr. Calmenius whistled once more and the figure stopped. What is that tune? Said Carl. Why does it stop for that? It's a little tune called The Flowers of Lapland, said Dr. Calmenius. He likes that, bless him. He stands still to listen to it, and that tips his balance wheel the other way, and then he stops. What a marvel. What a piece of work. I'm afraid of him. Oh, come. Afraid of a little tin man who plays a pretty tune. It's uncanny. It's not like a machine at all. I don't like it. Well, that's a great shame. What will you do without him tomorrow? I shall be watching with great interest. No, said Carl in anguish. I didn't mean... Oh, I don't know what I mean. Do you want him? Yes, no, cried Carl, beating his fists together. I don't know, yes. Then he is yours, said Dr. Calmenius. You have wound up the future, my boy. He is ready to begin... It has already begun to tick. And before Carl could change his mind, the clockwork maker gathered his long cloak around him, swept the hood up over his head and vanished out of the door with his sledge. Carl ran to the door after him, but the snow was so thick that he could see nothing. Dr. Calmenius had vanished. Carl turned back into the parlour and sat down weakly. The little figure stood perfectly still with its sword upraised and its blank metal face gazing at the young apprentice. He wasn't a man, Carl muttered. No man could make this. He was an evil spirit. He was the... He clapped his hand over his mouth and looked in terror at Sir Ironsole, who stood motionless. I nearly said it, Carl whispered to himself. I mustn't ever forget. And the tune, how does it go? If I can remember that, I'll be safe. He tried to whistle it, but his mouth was too dry. He tried to hum it, but his voice was shaking. He held out his hands and looked at them. They were trembling like dry leaves. Perhaps if I have another drink, he said. He poured some more brandy, splashing most of it on the counter before he got some in the glass. He swallowed it quickly. That's better. Well, after that, I could put him in the clock, and if I bolted him to the frame, he'd be safe enough. He wouldn't be able to get out of that, no matter what words anyone said. He looked around him fearfully. The parlour was as silent as the grave. Then he lifted the curtain and peered through the window. But there was not a single light in the town square. Everyone in the world seemed to have gone to bed, and the only beings awake were the clockmaker's apprentice and the little silvery figure with the sword. Yes, I'll do it, he said. So he threw the canvas over Sir Ironsole hastily, pulled on his coat and hat, and hurried out to unlock the tower and prepare the clock. We'll stop there. We haven't got to the end of part 1, but I'll read some more in a bit. Okay.